My beloved warriors have come to life. All the dead of centuries past.
It may be hard to believe, but this is a Disney movie. Far from the bright colors, bouncy musical numbers, and cuddly woodland creatures audiences were used to seeing, the 1985 film The Black Cauldron was intended to impress audiences with its technical feats, artistic direction, and gravely serious story. It almost shut down Disney's animation department for good.
We did it, sire! We did it! Oh, I mean, you. Yes, of course, you did it, sire.
Before we talk about what happened, make sure you leave us a like and consider subscribing to Nerdstalgic so you don't miss what we put out next. The behind-the-scenes tale of the Black Cauldron movie is almost as dense as the series of novels it was based on. Lloyd Alexander's 5-book series, The Chronicles of Prydain, was originally published in the mid-60s. It tells the story of Taran, a young boy destined to be a hero. As a children's series, Prydain focuses on being true to yourself, finding courage in the face of danger, and trusting that good will prevail over evil. It's a solid fantasy read with some surprisingly pensive and melancholic moments. It's exactly the type of story Disney likes to tell. So the studio picked up the rights to the series in 1971 and subsequently had one of their artists, Mel Shaw, create a few marketing images for the upcoming feature. Disney spent the next decade trying to recruit fresh-faced talent to the company by showing those images to students from the California Institute of the Arts, calling the then upcoming Black Cauldron a Snow White for the new generation. Aligning Cauldron with the cultural legacy of Snow White was certainly ambitious, and probably a little misguided. They hoped to return to the golden age of animation in both tone and scope, since they'd largely lost their way after the death of Walt Disney in 1966. The Disney executives hoped the Black Cauldron would pull them out of their slump. Of course, it wouldn't. In fact, it would throw their entire animation department into chaos for nearly 2 decades. To get the full picture of why the Black Cauldron was such a failure, we'll have to take a page out of Henwin's book and reveal all kinds of secret information. But let's start with the obvious. It's not easy to adapt 5 books into a single 80-minute movie, as explained by producer Joe Hale.
One of our problems was that there were so many characters and so much story that taking all of this material and condensing it into one story that we could put on the screen.
You might notice that Joe here seems a little tired, and for good reason. This poor man and his dead-eyed stare are emblematic of the exhausting process of making the Black Cauldron. The kicker is that, at the time, Hale was only involved in the project for 3 of the 12 years Cauldron had been in production. Before Hale's involvement, Disney wasn't even sure the movie would be released. The rights had been bought under co-founder Roy O. Disney, but he had retired. Since then, the company saw 2 more shakeups with Don Tatum and Card Walker, both trying their hand as CEO. With every change of the guard, interest in whittling down a sprawling fantasy epic into a bite-sized length waned. It was 2 of Disney's remaining 9 old men, Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas, who pushed for Cauldron to move forward. And finally, in 1978, it was slated for a 1980 release.
You better be telling the truth.
Probably not lie. Not this time.
Outside the difficulties of adaptation, Disney was hitting a different internal snag. Those new artists they hired with promises of getting to work on the Black Cauldron weren't up to the task. Or that's what the veteran animators thought. Of the over 100 people they tried out for the job, 35 stayed at Disney. Of those 35, only 16 were actually in the animation department. The long-standing employees resented the youngsters coming in to replace them. The younger animators saw the veterans as overbearing and stuck in their ways. As you can imagine, this fostered a less than productive work environment. Thankfully, it wasn't all doom and gloom in the land of Prydain. One of the 16 animators that met Disney's rigorous standards showed real promise. He was on track to become one of the company's top talents, until he left to start his own animation studio in 1979. Taking several other Disney employees with him, including 9 animators. This man was Don Bluth, and his darker, more serious animated movies would continue to be a thorn in Disney's side for years to come. Predictably, The Black Cauldron would not hit its 1980 release date. Less predictably, Disney decided to throw a wrench into the plans and change everything. Instead of trying to replicate the tone of the Golden Age movies, they wanted something teenagers would be interested in. That meant no music.